participants present here. Today I shall make an attempt, I'm not saying take a session, make an attempt to make you understand what is data collection, analysis and interpretation. Right? So, yeah. Now what is data? Are they just numbers? Can they be categories, things that can be ranked or set to order? They can be numbers, they can be events, they can be memoirs, blogs, old newspapers, photographs, policies, diaries, office records, old government data. It could be so many kinds of things that can be considered as data. Now, I guess all are media students here. So can you tell me what is data according to you? Anyone? The different kinds of researches that you do would involve either working with television, working with newspaper, working with magazines, working with radio content, or working with advertisement, PR, and many such other things, even including social media and the influence of social media on children. Like my experience goes into teacher education as well as social work. So one such issue that came, which is related to media, especially a game that came, that was Whale, and I guess there were many people who committed suicide. So if I want to study something like that, what would be my data like? If I'm looking at the number of people who died, it can go into the numbers or quantitative. If I look into the other aspects of it, what led people to play that game, it would go into the qualitative aspect of it. Now, before I go into the qualitative and the quantitative part of it, let us try to understand data can be primary or it can be secondary. Primary data is collected from current population directly using different kinds of tools, getting the data directly from the horse's mouth. That is, people who are directly involved in the process. See experiences of people who have taken vaccine against COVID-19 and what do they have to say about it. Secondary data is collected from the annual reports, old newspaper, government records, other financial records, diaries written by people, or interviewing relatives of people who may be involved in the incident. So, but one, if you're interested in primary data, your research gets driven in a particular manner. If you are working with secondary data, it gets driven in a different set of manner. Now, as I was talking about the quantitative and the qualitative aspect of it, when we talk about quantitative data or numerical data are usually used to test hypotheses. Data is collected with the help of various kinds of tools, which I'll be taking a little later as well. Qualitative data are usually collected through observation, through detailed interviews, or through focus group discussions. But the most important thing is in qualitative data that some amount of triangulation is necessary because you cannot go by one way of taking data. Now, when we talk about various kinds of tools which are used to collect data, then the question comes or question arises, what is a good tool like? So it is said a good tool should have validity, reliability, objectivity, and usability. These four parameters are very important for any tool for that purpose, especially used in the quantitative paradigm. Now, a question arises, why should the data be collected? Whether it is primary or secondary, qualitative, quantitative, collect ही क्यों करना है data? For any research, data collection, analysis and interpretation is the spine of that particular research. या बोले रीढ़ की हड्डी है. It is the core, right? अब ये क्यों बन जाता है कोर या कैसे बन जाता है कोर जिसके आसपास पूरी बॉडी बनती है. So So data, whether quantitative or qualitative, is collected with a purpose to find answers. Answers to what? Answers to the research questions that you might have attended the session earlier, where expert might have told you how to make. Now these research questions, they become the foundation. बिल्कुल नींव है आपकी, फाउंडेशन है ना. वो फाउंडेशन के आंसर्स ढूंढने के लिए you don't directly try to answer the research questions. Basically, from the research questions, you have something that we call objectives of the study. Now, in order to achieve these objectives of the study, we collect data. Now, this data, before collecting the data, we should know what is the population, what is the sample, and what kind of tools will be befitting for a certain kind of population or the sample that you have chosen or the sampling technique that you have chosen, which I guess has been discussed just recently by Panchal sir. Now, कौन सा tool मुझे use करना है? How do I come to know which tool should be used? इतने सारे तरीके के tools हैं which can be used to collect data. So how do I arrive at? How do I come to I will not say conclusion, but even a decision that I will use, say, interview as a tool, or I will use questionnaire as a tool, or I will go for focus group discussion, or I will go for participant observation, or I'll go for observation, or a rating scale, or a checklist. Oh my God. कैसे पता चले? Important question. For this, again, someone might have covered review of related literature or review of related studies. So as a researcher, I would fall back on what work my previous or my predecessors have already done. वहाँ से दूसरे लोगों ने जो रिसर्च की है, वहाँ से I will come to know what kind of tools they have used and what kind of findings they have got. Or I can find out a gap. I can say that these people have done their research in a particular manner, in a particular paradigm, but I don't agree and I want to do it in a different paradigm. Perfectly all right, as long as you have an argument for it, perfectly all right. Argument is also data-based, that you are bringing that point from some review of some research जो पहले किसी ने already किया हुआ है. And remember that when you're doing the research, you are not the only person interested in that particular area. There are other people also like you who are interested in this area and who have already worked for so many years. Research का मतलब ये नहीं कि मैंने आज शुरू किया और मैं आज से काम कर रही हूँ, मेरे से पहले किसी ने कुछ नहीं किया. Yeah, I do believe that there are exploratory researches, but these new areas, maybe people would have written some articles which would have appeared in some newspaper or on some blog, or it may be there in some other format somewhere available in some library resource, in some archive, in some somewhere on the internet, somewhere Google Scholar or some journal, it might have appeared. So you have to look at that. That will help you in deciding what tool should be used. Now, when we talk about quantitative research, we usually make use of questionnaires. Now, these questionnaires we can make either in Google form or Jot form also these days, since due to COVID, people are not going on field. Many of them are collecting data through the online mode. So questionnaire can be made in the Google form or it can be made in the Jot form, but care should be taken that it should not be too elaborate, that it takes so much of time, because after some time the respondent would lose patience. Neither it should have so many categories. एक question के अंदर 10 question और एक question के अंदर 10 question और. It's like very irritating to even answer such questionnaires. So keep it short, keep it simple, and try to cover as many aspects of your objective as you can, but still remember, keep it short. You will ask me what number. I really don't have a ideal number to quote that way, but simple and short, then you get the responses. Otherwise लोग भरेंगे नहीं, और भरेंगे भी तो आधा फॉर्म भरा हुआ आएगा जो आपके काम का नहीं है, because that data will not be useful. पर मे भी उस बंदे के पास जो जानकारी है वो जानकारी आपके लिए यूजफुल हो सकती है. So that is the problem with the questionnaire, that sometimes people do not fill or it is incompletely filled. And then so what I advise my students is try to collect more data, so that even if we have some जो भी आपका सैम्पल साइज है उससे ज़्यादा कलेक्ट कर लो, ताकि अनफिल्ड फॉर्म्स आ जाते हैं या हाफ फिल्ड फॉर्म्स आ जाते हैं या डुप्लीकेट फॉर्म्स आ जाते हैं, so we can replace that with full forms and we can always get back to the respondents. Then the next tool, and a very important tool, is interview. Especially in media, this becomes a very nice kind of a tool. Now it can be structured or it can be semi-structured. What is the difference between the structured and the semi-structured one? Now, interview, when you are conducting interview, a structured would have a set of questions, say 15 questions. You are interviewing some HR personnel of some media company. You give that same set of questions in advance to that person, and then when you're going, you're just asking those 15 questions and you are getting the response. You're writing it in your diary or you're recording if the other person permits, because there are ethics in research and you have to take permission when you are taking or recording somebody's statement or something like that. तो अगर आपने पहले से दे दिया है उनको, तो आप उसको अगर बीच में भी सवाल पूछना चाहो, यू कैन नॉट आस्क क्वेश्चन. सेमी स्ट्रक्चर्ड इंटरव्यू में ये एक पॉसिबिलिटी है कि you have scope of asking some question if it comes to your mind even while interviewing. Now, another advantage of interview is that when you are interviewing a person, you can look into the eyes of the person, you can see their face expression, and there can be a very a personal touch, and you will know that which question went well and which question did not really go very well, or the respondent did not like or found difficult to answer. So those expressions can also be noticed when there is especially face-to-face kind of interviews. But again, due to pandemic, we have to again depend upon telephonic interviews. But anyways, better no data say to telephonic data, which at least you have some data to work on. Then next is observation schedule. Again, what you want to observe is structured properly, and you are trying to find out how, say for example, a discussion or a debate is going on and you are there, you are observing, and you're observing for certain kind of behavior, mannerisms, certain kind of content, how many times it is getting repeated, etc. So you are sitting there with an observation schedule and you're observing, and it is a pre-structured observation schedule, and it is being commonly used in many research tasks. Then coming to tests, sometimes you have run an awareness campaign or something and you want to find out how much awareness has reached to the people who have seen that campaign. So you want to put up a test, or you put a pre-test and a post-test, that before running the campaign, what was the awareness level, and after running the campaign, what is the awareness level. So you can have a test, again, it is pre-designed. Standardized tests are also available. There are many standardized tests for attitude, for aptitude, for interest, and personality adjustment. So many people also, intelligence, alongside the research, they also carry out the standardized tests. Now, when the standardized tests are being used, they already have reliability, validity scores set up. So you don't have to go for validation of those kinds of tools. Coming to checklist. Now checklist may, again, there is a list of items being given. You just put a tick mark, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Media में तो मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा. You can help, but something that we used in a social worker research that we were doing a small research on primary health center in the rural area, the condition of primary health center. So we listed down what are the things that should be available in the primary health center, made a list of it, and we were just going from center to center just to find out what are the kind of things that are available there or not. Similarly, we did a study of Anganwadis working in the rural area to find out, again, the amenities or the facilities announced by the government that an Anganwadi should have or a primary health center should have. So we there we use the checklist. Now again, coming to rating scale, another kind of a tool. This rating scale can be a 5-point rating scale or a 3-point rating scale or a 10-point rating scale where you want to do some kind of analysis or where there is debate being going on and you want people, there can be panel of judges, 3 or 5 judges who are sitting there and they are making use of the rating scale, and then later it is used for some other purpose. Or there are products, advertisements, you want to rate which advertisement is running better. So based upon your different areas, tools can be used. Now coming to the qualitative research. Now the tools that are used in qualitative research, एक बेसिक फर्क है, एक बेसिक फर्क है। क्या फर्क है कि क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च में हम टूल्स रिसर्च करने से पहले बना देते हैं, फिक्स कर देते हैं, वैलिडेट करवा लेते हैं और फिर रिसर्च कंडक्ट करते हैं। जबकि क्वालिटेटिव रिसर्च, बिकॉज इट इज आई नो यू हैव ऑलरेडी हैड अ सेशन ऑन इट, बट इन वन लाइन आई फिनिश दैट it is subjective in nature, and because it is subjective in nature, because it is exploratory in nature, because of these two preconditions, the tools cannot be pre-constructed. Of course, areas can be decided, categories can be decided, themes can be decided, and then the observation can be carried out, or focus group discussion of 8 to 10 people can be done. Unstructured, in detail, लंबे interviews आप ले सकते हो, ऑब्जर्वेशन कर सकते हो, बाहर से ऑब्जर्वेशन कर सकते हो, या you can be a member of the team and you can do participant observation also. Then apart from that, qualitative studies या research में डॉक्यूमेंट एनालिसिस भी होता है, ऑटोग्राफीज का भी एनालिसिस होता है, लोगों के पर्सनल लेटर्स, डायरीज, रिकॉर्ड्स, वहाँ से भी ऑफिशियल डॉक्यूमेंट्स, वहाँ से भी काफ़ी सारा डेटा मिलता है. They go for discourse analysis, photographs, mass media output. जैसे अगर अभी के ज़माने में कोई अगर रिसर्च कर रहा होगा तो वो देखेगा कि मैंने ट्विटर पे क्या कहा या लिंक्डइन पे मेरा क्या है या क्या ब्लॉग डाला या क्या यूट्यूब में गया एक्सेट्रा. Actually, I'm not so active, but still, what did I put in Facebook? Even if you remember Sushant Singh's case, they did see what are activities he was doing in the last 10 days of his death, and those things were also reported in the media. So there are the kind of social media output that are being put up are also analyzed. Then analysis is done through content. It is content analysis, semiotics, or hermeneutic interpretations. I'll not go into the details of that. Rather, I'm talking about validation of tools. In the quantitative paradigm, whatever tools the researcher makes, these tools are validated. So once the tools are made, as per the objective of the study, next task is to validate the tools. The researcher made tools are given for validation along with objectives. So you give a sheet of your tools, questionnaire, or whatever interview schedule or semi-structured interview, whatever you have made, that along with the objectives on it and a covering letter to 5 different experts in the area. If you're doing media research, 4 people can be from media and 1 person you need to give to as a language expert. So the language person will see from the grammatical aspect of it, whether the sentences and everything else is constructed properly or not. And other 4 experts who are experts in the area of media will tell you whether it is as per the requirement of that particular area or not. So when all the suggestions from all the 5 experts have come back to you, you're not supposed to, as a student, make corrections one by one. Rather, you are supposed to collate all the feedback and go back to your expert, I mean, your guide, and ask for finalization. So it is guide and the scholar finally, they sit together and finalize the tool. Now, once this validation with the expert is being done, the second aspect is to pilot run the tools. Now, why is it important that you need to pilot run a tool before collecting the data? Experts ने तो देख लिया है, ठीक? और पायलट रन होता क्या है? हवाई जहाज नहीं चलाना. या इट मीन्स रैंडमली कुछ 5-6 लोगों के ऊपर या 10 लोगों के ऊपर जो आपके सैंपल से सिमिलर हैं, you test, you just administer your tools, and this administration of tool is done with a specific purpose. Purpose is to see that whether the layman or the sample who is trying to write or address is able to understand that or not. Like recently it happened that experts validated the tool. One of my students, she is doing her research on climate change, and certain words were such that experts found they were good. It was very nice. All the experts validated it. But when it was pilot run, she found a lot of difficulty because the common people could not understand the jargons that were related to climate change. So she had to again simplify and then send it to others for data collection. So from pilot run, you will come to know if the participants are facing any problems related to language or constructs or concepts or ideas used to tools. Now you have floated the tool. The data has started pouring in. So what to do with the collected data? You are supposed to discuss with your supervisor or your guide and keep the tables ready. The guide will know what kind of objectives are, what kind of data is expected to come. And पहले से अगर आप tools के लिए अपना data या किस तरीके से frequency tables बनाने वाले हैं या ग्राफ्स बनाने वाले हैं, पाई चार्ट्स बनाने वाले हैं, बार चार्ट्स, हिस्टोग्राम्स, अलग अलग तरीके के ग्राफ्स बनाने वाले हैं, तो उससे रिलेटेड डेटा एक्सेल में अगर डाल रहे हैं तो कैसे डालना है, या टेबल बनाने हैं तो कैसे बनाने, your guide will be able to say and keep them ready. Once they are ready, the incoming data can be directly put into those tables, those sheets, those whatever organization and presentation mannerisms you've decided. So accordingly, it can be settled. So as the data flows in, you would know where to put it up and how. Now discuss analysis. Again, you may resort to a review of related studies to know the kind of analysis that was used by people before you. Analysis भी आप अपने आप भी सोच सकते हैं, ऐसा नहीं कि आप सोच नहीं सकते, बट हाँ, आपसे पहले जिन लोगों ने किया है, उन लोगों ने कैसे किया है, वो देखना जरूरी है. Now, what is data analysis and interpretation? Data collection हमारा हो गया, tools हमने use कर लिए और हमारे पास data आ गया, ठीक है. So, data analysis करने से पहले हमें data का presentation करना होता है. Presentation हम करते हैं data का through tables, graphs, charts. Is the process of organizing data into logical, sequential, meaningful, as the attention can be made. Data analysis is done again in the light of the objectives and not as per the items given in the tool. Every year, at least 3 to 4 students come to me with data analysis, and they try to analyze each and every item, right from beginning, from the name, age, experience. And again, I have to tell them that analysis is not to be done of the tool verbatim, from the first item to the last item. Rather, data analysis is to be done as per the objectives of the study, because these objectives are based on the research questions. So research questions, research objectives, data analysis, data interpretation, this is a full chain. And after that, you write the research report. So data analysis is again done, I repeat, in the light of the objectives, not as per the items given in the tool. Care should be taken to organize the data as per the objectives and research questions. Our main aim of doing the research is to find answers to the questions that were in our mind before we started doing research. Now, interpretation is another word. So interpretation gives the result of analysis, makes inferences pertinent to the research, and draws conclusion about the relation of variables. About interpretation, I'll be talking a little later as well. Now, data analysis uses statistical analysis, and we can have descriptive statistics, we can have inferential statistics. Now, when we talk about descriptive statistics, तो उसमें क्या आता है? Measures of central tendency. Now, measures of central tendency माने सारा जो data है वो आपको central की ओर लेकर आता है. So it is called measures of central tendency. And ये central tendencies में हम जो study करते हैं, that is mean, median, and mode. They talk about the centrality. What is mean? Mean is the average of the data. Mean takes into consideration all the observations that you are going to make. So that is why it is called the most stable and the reliable. But mean usually gets influenced by the highest scores and the lowest scores. So where you want to see this reliability of the data, you may go to median. Median is more stable because it does not get upset by the extreme scores. Median is rather the middle value. This middle value is like you have whatever observations you have, whether it is a group data or ungrouped data, you put them in a ascending or descending order. Once that is being done, then the middle value or the central value becomes the median of that data. Of course, there are calculations and other stuff involved, which I'm not going to touch upon in this session. But you may see there are YouTube videos available, there are books available, which you can refer and you can solve. Mode, what is mode? Mode is the most frequently occurring kind of a number in the whole score set is the mode. Now, still mean is considered more stable because mode is frequently occurring score. Median is a central score, whereas mean is the most stable. Why we are calling it stable? Because mean considers each and every score in the data. That is why mean is a central tendency, and average is used. Also, mean is used in other statistical analysis as well. That is why mean is more dependable, it is said. And another is, I am not interested in the centrality. Rather, I am also interested in the spread of the data. How is my data dispersed, or how is my data variable? So the first thing that comes to the mind is range. Range is the lowest score to the highest score minus the lowest score is the range. Based on the range, we can make our frequency tables. Cumulative frequency can be calculated, and variance can also be found out. So range is the first step there. And we have variance, and then we have standard deviation. Again, standard deviation is the deviation from the mean. And since it is the deviation from the mean, it does consider each and every value, each and every data. Then coming to measures of non-central locations. Now, if we have data where the centrality is not there, In such cases, we make use of percentiles, deciles, quartiles. Now, again, our data analysis gets influenced by the scales of measurements. Now, data analysis can be done in two different ways. It can be non-parametric, you can apply non-parametric test or you can apply parametric test. Parametric and non-parametric you would have studied in sampling also, because sampling also is of two different kinds. So wherever we have non-parametric, usually the scales that are there, the data is on nominal and ordinal scale. The size of the sample is small and it is non-random. Then we can make use of non-parametric tests like the chi-square test, Mann-Whitney U test, sign test, median test, and there are so many others. There's an entire book on non-parametric tests. Then coming to parametric test, again, in the parametric test, what is assumed is the bell-shaped curve, that is the normal distribution is normal. When we say distribution and it's normal, what does it mean? That mean, median, and mode lie in the center of this symmetrical bell-shaped curve. And the kind of tests that can be done are t-tests, correlation analysis, ANOVA, ANCOVA, etc. Again, it assumes parametric assumes that this your sampling is random, that each and every person in the population has a chance of getting selected as your sample. Okay, now coming to again analysis of quantitative data. हमारे पास जो डेटा सेट आ गया है उस पर वापस से आ गए हैं हम. क्या करना है? Oh my God, डेटा देखना है, मिसिंग डेटा देखना है. मिसिंग डेटा, यस, हमने इतना सारा डेटा लिया है पर सब कुछ आ गया है या नहीं, या उसमें से कुछ बाकी है, कुछ इनकम्प्लीट है, कुछ बिन जरूरी है, कुछ एवं आ गया है. तो वो जो ज़रूरी नहीं है उसे हम क्लीन करते हैं, जो इनकम्प्लीट है उसे भी हम क्लीन करते हैं, या जो रिपीटेटिव आ गया. सपोज आपने बोला कि अर्चना ये क्वेश्चनर भर देना, मैंने भेज दिया है तुमको. फिर रॉबी सर ने भी बोला कि अर्चना भर देना. अब तुमने बोला तो भी मैंने भर दिया, रॉबी सर ने बोला तो भी मैंने भर दिया. आपके पास मेरा जो डेटा है वो 2 बार आ गया. सो नेचुरली आप एक कंसिडर करोगे, एक को डिलीट करोगे. सो इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. कई बार लोग खुद भी भूल जाते हैं. इट्स नॉट दैट मैंने सबमिट किया तो मेरे पास कोई रिमाइंडर आ गया कि आई सबमिटेड. समटाइम्स आई फॉरगेट, ओ माय गॉड, कॉलेज से मुझे बोला था भरने के लिए, मैंने भरा कि नहीं, मैंने फिर भर दिया. तो आपके पास मेरी डबल ट्रिपल एंट्रीज हो जाती हैं. सो देयर आई एम सपोज टू, आई मीन यू आर सपोज टू क्लीन योर डेटा, दैट ये अर्चना का बार बार आ गया है, सेम नेम, same data has come thrice. So let's remove the other two and we'll consider one. Now analysis again is done based on the variables. So variables के आधार पर, रिसर्च में वेरिएबल्स होते हैं, एटलीस्ट 2 तो आपने सुन ही लिए होंगे अब तक, डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल एंड इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल. और भी वेरिएबल्स होते हैं, उनके बारे में भी जान लेना जिस भी सेशन में वो प्लान्ड हो, या शायद पढ़ चुके हो क्या आप. एनीवेज, यूनिवेरिएट का मतलब है एक सिंगल वेरिएबल है. ठीक है, तो अगर सिंगल वेरिएबल है तो आप फ्रीक्वेंसी टेबल पर कर सकते हैं, आप डायग्राम्स बना सकते हैं, या आप मेजर्स ऑफ सेंट्रल टेंडेंसी एंड मेजर्स ऑफ डिस्पर्शंस का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. नाउ बाइवेरिएट एनालिसिस माने 2 वेरिएबल्स आपके पास हैं, तो आप देख सकते हैं 2 वेरिएबल के बीच में रिलेशनशिप क्या है, वो एक तरीके का एनालिसिस हो गया. या कंटिजेंसी टेबल बना के भी आप कर सकते हैं. देन यू कैन मेक पियर्सन प्रोडक्ट मोमेंट कोरिलेशन, वो यूज कर सकते हैं, या स्पीयरमैन रो यूज कर सकते हैं. पियर्सन प्रोडक्ट मोमेंट इज parametric, whereas Spearman row is non-parametric. Depending upon your data, you can make use of it. You can do comparison of means. Comparison of means can be done in different ways. It can be a simple student t-test, or it can be advanced one where you do ANOVA, or you go for ANCOVA, analysis of covariances. देन देयर कैन बी 2 से ज़्यादा वेरिएबल्स हो सकते हैं। तो 2 से ज़्यादा वेरिएबल्स जब होते हैं, सी फॉर एग्जांपल मेरे पास 4 वेरिएबल हैं, तो आई कैन सी ए का असर बी सी डी पर कैसा हो रहा है, या बी का असर ए सी डी पे कैसा हो रहा है। तो इस तरीके की भी एनालिसिस अवेलेबल है। पर देखो भैया, स्टैटिस्टिक्स जहाँ तक है मुश्किल नहीं है, आसान है, लेकिन उतना घुसे जितना जानने की जरूरत हो। लर्न दैट, कम बैक, अप्लाई। इफ यू गो टू मच इनटू इट, खो जाओ तो मेरे को मत बोलना ढूंढने आने के लिए, बिकॉज देयर आर चांसेस दैट यू मे गेट लॉस्ट। इट इज वास्ट, statistics is vast. You go, you study the one that you need carefully, not just from one source. Try to read from 3 to 4 sources. Understand properly. Try to learn how to apply it through computer and also how to do it manually. It is very important. बताती हूँ मैन्युअली क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है बाद में। ना क्वालिटेटिव डेटा अगर आपका है और आपके पास वो आता है, तो उसका एनालिसिस आप कैसे करेंगे? आपका फर्स्ट इज अनस्ट्रक्चर्ड इंटरव्यू या फोकस ग्रुप डिस्कशन, आपने उसकी ट्रांसक्रिप्ट बनाए, फील्ड में गए तो अपने फील्ड ऑब्जर्वेशन नोट्स बनाए। नाउ यू हैव ऑल दिस डेटा इन द फॉर्म ऑफ डिस्क्रिप्शंस। ऐसी पूरी आपकी डायरी या नोटबुक कुछ भी है, उसके अंदर आपने डिटेल में लिख रखा है। अब जब आप एनालिसिस करते हैं तो व्हाट डू? यू डू सेगमेंटिंग, कोडिंग, you develop categories, you develop themes, you try to see what is the relationship between the various kind of categories that are there. Then you corroborate and you validate the data. And as I said, qualitative research में लोग अपने बहुत सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस या बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो उनके दिमाग में आ रही हैं, वो बहुत कुछ बोलते हैं। तो ये एक फनल शेप प्रोसेस है कि आपके पास इतना सारा डेटा है और धीरे 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 नैरो डाउन होके सेगमेंटिंग, कोडिंग, थीम बनाते बनाते वो एकदम ही एक फनल टाइप, एक नैरो फॉर्मेट में आ जाता है। एंड इस प्रोसेस में भी इस ट्रायंगुलेशन यानी त्रिकोणीय दृष्टि से देखना जरूरी होता है। आई एम सीइंग फ्रॉम माय आईज ऐसा नहीं होता है, मेरे को डेटा मेरे पार्टिसिपेंट्स के नजरिए से देखकर उसमें से इंटरप्रिटेशन निकालना है। So that is a very, very important, and it is technical, but it is not so difficult. Now coming to interpretation of data. Interpretation refers to the task of drawing inferences from the collected data after the analysis. It answers the question, what do the results of the study mean? If I say कि मेरा ये hypothesis null hypothesis accept हुआ है, या मेरा null hypothesis जो मैंने बनाया था वो रिजेक्ट हुआ है, जी मैंने तो hypothesis की बात करी ही नहीं, पर किसी ने तो करी होगी। सो मैं मान लेती हूँ कि आपको ये पता है कि there is something like directional hypothesis, non-directional hypothesis, null hypothesis. When we are doing statistical analysis, usually we make use of null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is also known as no difference hypothesis. Now, I have made some hypothesis in my research methodology, and now when I'm making a research hypothesis, care should be taken that I also specify that my hypothesis is going to be tested at which level, whether it will be tested at 0.05 level or it will be tested at 0.01 level. This decision I have to make right in the beginning. If I do not make this decision at that time, I will be committing either type A error or type B error, or type 1 error or type 2 error. You can read more about the errors, which are important in the terms of interpretation of data. Apart from that, since a null hypothesis has a cover on the bell curve on the left hand side and right hand side, so my result is interpreted in plus or minus whatever the score is, right? So yeah, that is a very, very important task. Whether I am testing my hypothesis on a two-tailed test, on a one-tailed test. Two-tail मतलब ये दो पूछ है, एक बेल कर्व की इस तरफ, एक इस तरफ. Two-tailed test or a one-tailed test is pre-decided. Pre-decided यानी कि hypothesis बनाने से पहले it is decided. Based on that, my inferences will be drawn or my interpretation will be made. ठीक है, इससे आप लोग तो बीच में कुछ बोलते ही नहीं हैं. Anyways, if you have your questions, you can raise your hand and ask, or maybe towards the end you may ask. Now, yeah, it answers the question, what do the results of the study mean? तो जो भी मुझे रिजल्ट मिला है, चाहे परसेंटेज में मिला है या काई स्क्वायर के फॉर्म में मिला है या साइन टेस्ट के स्कोर में मिला है, जिस भी तरीके से मिला है, दैट क्यों मिला है मुझे ऐसा रिजल्ट, मैं डेटा से नहीं पूछ सकती, इसलिए मैं खुद एक्सप्लेन करती हूँ. बट व्हेन आई एम एक्सप्लेनिंग दिस in my research report, I consider the theory based from where I started, my conceptual framework, my theoretical, the first chapter, basically what we say, I draw from there, I draw from review, I draw how my research is going to get applied. Putting all that into view, I write the interpretation of the data. Now, there are some cautions. डायरेक्ट रिपोर्ट बनाने नहीं बैठने का, डायरेक्ट एनालिसिस लिखने के लिए नहीं बैठने का. व्हाट इज दिस यू आर सेइंग? या वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. यू मस्ट शो योर डेटा. जो भी डेटा आपका आया है, यू मस्ट शो इट टू योर सुपरवाइजर. फ्रॉम इयर्स ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस, जस्ट बाय लुकिंग एट योर डेटा ग्राफ्स, पाई चार्ट्स, योर गाइड विल बी एबल टू टेल यू एरर इन द डेटा. किधर लोचा हुआ है उसको देखते ही पता चल जाता है, क्योंकि उसने डेटा इतने टाइम से देखा है कि ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता. व्हाट हैव यू डन? दिस काइंड ऑफ एनालिसिस, इट इज कंप्लीटली रॉन्ग. डू इट अगेन. अब बोलो कि अरे ये कुछ पढ़ा नहीं, देखा नहीं, डायरेक्टली मेरा चैप्टर रिजेक्ट कर दिया या मेरा डेटा को नकार दिया. या सो I have seen in many cases, even with my friends, colleagues who are guiding research, they would outrightly reject a table by just looking at it. नीचे जो analysis लिखा है वो पढ़ेंगे भी नहीं, because table should be complete in itself. It is said, no, कि table अगर कोई पढ़े तो नीचे analysis वाला part उसे पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. Similarly, analysis जिस तरीके से लिखा है word में, text में, वो analysis अगर कोई पढ़ रहा है, टेक्स्ट वाला एनालिसिस, उसे टेबल देखने की जरूरत नहीं होनी चाहिए. Both should be there but independent of each other and complete in themselves. So your research supervisor or your guide will tell you कहाँ लोचा है, क्या प्रॉब्लम है, या डायरेक्टली लोचा है. Okay, you can be ready with your questions. The task of interpretation has two major aspects: the effort to establish continuity in research through linking the result of a given study with those of others. That is, जो research मैंने की है उसे मैं link कर रही हूँ with previously done researches or with the review data. One. Second, the establishment of some explanatory concept, because from my research also some theory is going to emerge, some summary is going to emerge. Some of the questions, the research questions will be answered, some others may not be answered. So the research questions is that the research questions that are not answered, उसके ऊपर कोई और कुछ और रिसर्च कर सकता है. इंटरप्रिटेशन इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर हाइपोथेसिस रिजल्ट्स आल्सो, कि ये हाइपोथेसिस अगर मेरी रिजेक्ट हुई है तो क्यों हुई है. एंड बेसिक होता क्या है कि मेरे पास डेटा है, डेटा मेरे को सैंपल से मिल रहा है, and I'm trying to generalize about the population. That is known as inference, or that is where inferential statistics comes into play. So when we generalize, do not get tempted to make false generalization. Only generalize it to, from your sample, you can generalize about the population and nothing more than that. This should be kept in mind. Now, coming to the last part of this presentation, and in the last part, I have these software which you can have a look at it. There are softwares for quantitative research, and there are computer software for qualitative research. Just give me a minute, I'll take my medicine. Now, these are some of the softwares that are available for quantitative research and qualitative research. As I told you, students would usually use something like, they can use Excel or something. And then they'll come to the guide and they will say that, this is what I have found through this particular tool or this particular, as I said, software or whatever. तो ये सही है. But then sometimes ठीक है, जो भी रिजल्ट मिला है सही है, जो भी एनालिसिस किया वो सही है, बट उसे क्रॉस चेक कर लेना भी जरूरी होता है. एंड आर्ग्यूमेंट, building argument and research, whether it is writing the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, that is your methodology, or talking about data analysis and interpretation, the argument with which you are doing, sometimes that argument may go wrong. I'm not saying the statistics or the package, software package is wrong, but the way we process that data, there can be error there. So that's how errors creep into the research. And that's why I said, whatever data you have collected, show the data to your supervisor. If some other data needs to be collected, so that can also be collected. Now, talking about, just give me one more minute, I'll talk about the qualitative research. Qualitative research में data collection कब खत्म करते हैं? As I told you, it's a long process. The researcher has to stay in the field for a longer duration of time, because in-depth interviews are being taken, focus group discussions are conducted, observations are made, some old data is being studied, etc., etc. There is talk going on with the community. When there is a repetition of data that starts coming in again and again, you're getting the same kind of information and no new information is coming up, that's the point where data collection stops and data analysis begins. Okay, thank you so much for patiently listening to me. I can take your questions. You may ask your questions. Robbie sir, is that fine?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
You have 10 minutes to grill me, ask me questions, whatever you have in your mind. No questions would mean two things. Either everything is very clear or nothing is clear.
Yes, yes. Okay. Ma'am, with regard to software, is it a open source software or so that if you can clarify again, like, because, most of the students, they may not be able to afford, the softwares, right?
Yeah, true. Not all are open, but I think they can use the Excel and advanced Excel. There also a
Yeah,
lot of analysis can be done. But
exactly.
if the institution has license of SPSS or RStudio, then they can make use of those kinds of
Yeah,
yeah. Because not every software is free. They do require licensing, and
exactly.
this is to be renewed annually. Like
Every year, yeah.
yeah, it's not that once you take the license, it is available with you for the life. It's not like that.
So we had a discussion, last month, you remember, with regard to
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow I am a very old school teacher, and I prefer doing manual analysis over any other statistical analysis that is done through any software, because I do believe that students should also know the logic of what they are doing, how they are processing it, what is happening to the data, how the things are getting. करो कंप्यूटर पे भी करो, एक्सेल पे भी करो, जो भी सॉफ्टवेयर अवेलेबल है ओपन सोर्स या परचेज्ड वन, डू ऑन दैट आल्सो, बट manually be cross check karo. Even for my PhD students, Robbie sir, I ask them if they are using t-test,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the data is, excel में मिल गया अच्छी बात है, but do it manually also
Yeah.
and see the logic how it is going, because otherwise they don't remember the formula, they're not able to answer when it comes to, but if they've done it manually,
Right.
they are able to remember the steps and everything else.
You are right. Yeah. Great. I think students, maybe after 2 hours of sessions, they are tired.
Tired, yeah. And research is not a very interesting or fun thing. Of course,
Exactly.
when they start getting involved into it, when they start doing it, then they enjoy it a lot. But before they enter the portals of it, till then it is dry and drab.
Yes, ma'am. So
I
that
was
is what.
thinking at least there'll be some questions. Yes, there a hand goes up. Nancy, go ahead. Hi, Nancy. You can unmute yourself.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, ma'am. I'd like to ask you a question on theories that support sampling sufficiency.
Yeah. I think this topic would have been covered by the previous speaker, Dr. Dinesh Panchal. He would have talked to you about what sample is sufficient for which kind of research.
Yes, ma'am. He did. And I was wondering, sometimes when we choose a certain sample, either because of previous studies or because of some other logical reason, sometimes there are theories which say that this amount of sample is sufficient, or this amount of sample is insufficient. So that's why I want to know, ma'am.
Yeah, there's actually a formula. It's not handy with me right now, but there's a formula to calculate the sample size.
Okay, ma'am.
Depending upon the kind of population that you have, there's a formula. You put that formula in place and you get your sample size.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nancy, are you asking, the number of the population or the number of the respondents or?
Sample. She's asking sample.
No, sir,
Formula
I'm
for-
asking about theories which suggest that
Okay.
this kind of sample or this number of sample
Okay.
is valid. So
Okay.
when we are arguing or defending ourselves in the final viva, so I was wondering what are the theories that would be used?
Okay.
Panchal sir spoke about sampling techniques and framing and so on, but I would have liked to ask him this question.
Okay.
You can mail it to Panchal, sir. He will tell
Sure.
how much sample is sufficient sample.
Definitely.
We will be sharing, you are from Christ University, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we'll be sharing you all the details of the mail ID and, all the PPT also, immediately. To Alex, you will get it, okay, from Alex, sir, okay.
Definitely, sir. Thank you very
You will
much.
get the contact number and the mail ID of the expert speakers too, yeah?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we wind up now? Otherwise, yeah.
I have no issues.
Yes. Yeah, Ms.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Dr. Archana, for sharing your views and expertise on data collection, interpretation, and analysis. It was very interesting listening to you. So hereby we end today's session on a very positive note. We sincerely hope that the takeaways are great for you all. Thank you to the participants, PhD holders, and all the faculty members for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mishpa. Thank you, Robbie, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Archana. Thank you so much. Yes. Great.